France 24 debate. We're looking at Egypt. We're asking who's in charge after the election, a historic election of a civilian for the first time, the Muslim Brotherhood's Mohamed Morsi elected president, but the ruling military, the outgoing military, saying it's going to hang on to a lot of its prerogatives and also write the constitution. With us to talk about it from Cairo, Nader Amran of the Brotherhood's Freedom and Justice Party. Thanks for being back with us. Thank you as well for joining us. Hana Youssef, member of the January 25th Activist Coalition. Henri Boulad, Alexandria-born and still an Alexandria citizen, theologian. Thank you for being with us. And Gil Mahaley of Yediot Aharonot, the columnist for that Israeli daily newspaper. One of the other questions that's been brought up is this interview that Mohamed Morsi reportedly granted to Iran's semi-official Fars news agency, where he talked of reviewing the peace treaty with Israel. We must restore normal relations with Iran based on shared interests and expand areas of political coordination and economic coordination, because this will create a balance of pressure in the region. Some, however, casting doubt over that interview, which took place before he was announced winner on Sunday. Just a few days ago, he told Kuwaiti publication Al-Kuwaiti, this was picked up by Meir Javan Dafar in the Al-Monitor, he told them, we support the Palestinian people's right to resist against Israel's occupation and do not see it as something bad, but we will never stand with the forces who threaten friendly countries in the Arabian Gulf. Can you clarify for us, Nader Amram, Mohamed Morsi, what do you think his stance will be regarding Iran?
First of all, I want to stress again that I'm not speaking for on behalf of Dr. Morsi anymore, because he's now the president of Egypt. But let me make it clear about Iran. Yes, you are right. He made this statement before the result of the presidency. And this came in the context, I read this news this morning, this came in the context of that he, as the president of Egypt, hopes that he's going to build normal and diplomatic relations with all the world's countries, not only Iran. And Iran one of the world's countries. So that's what he meant. He wants normal relations with all the world's countries, including Iran. So that was the context.
Now, Mohamed Morsi making a 30-minute acceptance speech on Sunday night. He was light on religious references and very much trying to sound conciliatory.
We will respect agreements and international law, as well as Egyptian commitments and treaties with the rest of the world. We will work to establish the principles of Egypt and its civil identity, as well as human values, especially freedom and the respect of human rights, the respect of women and family rights, as well as children. We will do away with any discrimination.
Now, Coptic Christian tycoon Naguib Sawiris has said he was not our choice, but we are accepting it as a democratic choice, that of Mohamed Morsi. But he does say that Morsi is required to prove that he's taking action in regards to to the statement that he just made. What kind of actions, Henri Boulad, would you like to see Mohamed Morsi take that would reassure you? You mentioned in part one your worries regarding his election. What would reassure you?
He speaks of a civil state. 1 hour ago, he was telling that this state would be based on Muslim Sharia. How can it be that a state could be a civil state and an Islamic state? This is a contradiction between two statements made the same day, today.
So what concrete step would reassure you?
I don't know. You know, when somebody says one thing and it's opposite in our in 1 hour, the two opposite statements, it makes me I just can't understand.
Hana Youssef, your thoughts?
As I said before, the Sharia is already in Mubarak state, which was a secular state, was already part of the constitution. I'm not saying I support it or not, but I would really like us to get away from the debate mixing religion and politics. Because this, in my opinion, is an old mindset. If there's anything that happened in the Tahrir demonstrations in the streets is that I saw how people came together. I think the main spark of what triggered the revolution is, for example, the attack that happened on the All Saints Church. It shocked people into seeing how little the Mubarak regime was protecting its citizens and its minorities. And so we saw how people came together, Muslims praying, the Christians protecting them, and so on and so forth. And seeing how the military has massacred the Christians in Maspero, for example, we are all asking, let's focus on the issues. We are talking about social justice. Let's keep the religion just out of it. That's my opinion.
Okay. Nader Amram, Mohamed Morsi was not the first choice candidate for the Freedom and Justice Party. And he's been dubbed in some circles the spare tire, disparagingly. Will he be, what kind of a leader do you expect him to be?
Okay, so in Muslim Brotherhood, in the first place, we are adopting an ideology or adopting a platform. So no matter who is going to apply this platform, we want to build the state of law, the rule of law. So we are not just depending on the hero or the champion who's going to achieve miracles. No, we want somebody who is really capable of applying our platform, the project, Renaissance Project, which we presented to the Egyptian people to take people out of its troubles. So if it was Khairat al-Shater or Mohamed Morsi, they're both capable of taking care or and applying this kind of program. So we are an institution, not just a person. Enough with charismatic and heroes and champions. We want somebody who really from the people and wants to really get the real benefit for the people.
But is he somebody who can command respect in a room and be a decision maker? And we don't know very much about him.
Yes, he is. From my experience with him for the past year, he's a capable person. He's so intelligent. He has a PhD from United States. He's so organized and programmed mind and scientific mind. He really from the grassroots of Egypt, so he understands everybody. So for me, I was even from Brotherhood, but I'm surprised. I was taken aback from his ability and from his capability.
Gil Mahili, your thoughts on Mohamed Morsi? Does the personality of a man in that position, again, his job description is not yet quite clear. There's still the jostling and negotiation, and perhaps we're headed for a power play. We don't know between the army and civilians over what his actual job description will be. Does personality matter?
Of course. I mean, it goes without saying. But above the person, Egypt concluded a peace agreement with Israel in it started almost 40 years ago after the October War, not because Anwar al-Sadat became Zionist, because it was an analysis of what are the interests of Egypt and which way Egypt wanted to develop itself. Hosni Mubarak took office in '81 after Sadat was assassinated, and he kept the peace he kept the relationship with Israel and developed it, not because he was paid off by the CIA, but because he shared the same vision of the strategic needs of Egypt. I guess that the geopolitics will not change. I'm sure that the personal level will disappear. If in Israel we called it the Cold War, we called it a cold peace. It'll probably be a freezing peace, but I think that as long as Egypt remains Egypt in its frontiers, with its neighbors, with it. I mean, the whole geopolitical context. I find it very difficult to imagine going back to the situation in the Nasser area, which is the nightmare, the 50s and the 60s. I think it's not a very probable scenario. And
Hannah Youssef, do you agree?
I agree. We're not going to go back to the Nasser area because the world has the Nasser area because the world has changed. But it's a question of if it's a freezing peace, there is a reason why it is a freezing peace. The reason for the peace, in my opinion, is that it's in the economic interest of the Mubarak regime and the SCAF, the Supreme Council of the Armed Forces, to keep this peace because there is business, there's a whole lot of money involved. And the same thing is for the Muslim Brotherhood, who are like a market liberal party. They have businessmen. Everybody is interested in seeing how business can be maintained.
So is that a good or a bad thing?
Depends if the goods are, if they are distributed to the Egyptian people. 40% are living under the poverty line. The Egyptian military controls up to 40% of all Egyptian economy, and nothing is shared with the people. So. And when it comes to the Camp David agreement, it's over 30 years old. Any agreement, it would be positive to review it. And I think you will find that everybody in Egypt agrees that it has to be reviewed because the terms are not beneficial for Egypt. We are not able to develop Sinai. We are not developed to have even police forces in large areas of Sinai. The whole area has been marginalized, and this is one of the reasons why there are problems there, not because we want war with Israel. We have much bigger problems, much bigger issues at hand, and this revolution is not about Israel, it's about Egypt.
Let's talk about those much bigger issues. Nader Amran, when Hannah Youssef is mentioning how the outgoing Supreme Council of the Armed Forces has all these business ventures, interests in companies, some call it even, some people call it nepotism on their part, and that they're more businessmen than they are soldiers at times. How do you untangle all of that?
Dr. Morsi also mentioned some weeks before that on yesterday's speech, he respects the Egyptian army very much, and we all do. And he is keeping the same relations, the very good relations, and he's keen on keeping very good relations with the SCAF. And today he met with the SCAF itself in the Egyptian Ministry of Defense. And I think they are discussing, it depends all on the state of law. If the next constitution, next parliament are going to set some rules for the work of the military council and the military itself, we have to stick to this, and everybody will stick to this. That's what we call state of law. Not only if we see something or Dr. Morsi sees something, we want to apply state of law, which really try to legalize all its decisions by having the parliament issuing all the laws concerning the SCAF, and then the SCAF eventually will apply these laws, and that way I don't think there's going to be any disputes or any clashes.
And do you genuinely believe that the army will go back on its word now and let that dissolved parliament sit?
Yeah, I believe so.
And what makes you say that?
All the Egyptian national powers now are gathering, and they are all like one person now demanding this. And when the Egyptian people, when I feel that Tahrir Square and the Egyptian people want something, it must happen.
Henri Boulad, do you agree?
I think it's more problematic than what Mr. Amran is saying. I'm not sure that what is sure that nothing is clear in the coming period. So I doubt that the army, the military, would leave room for a kind of ominous power or of the Muslim Brotherhood, because this would jeopardize the peace of the country. Christians would not accept this this power of the Muslim Brotherhood, and the revolutionaries, the activists who made the revolution, are still clinging to their principles, and things are not over. Things are unclear. I'm expecting new developments in the coming weeks, resisting to a kind of I would say dictatorship of the
But it's not a dictatorship. You yourself, in the first part of the show, said that you accepted the verdict of the vote.
But the problem is that when they say our aim is to implement a Muslim state and to implement Sharia law, and for me this is in opposition with the civil state, which is.
Okay, Hannah Youssef, how do you see the power play now over who gets to write the rules, over who gets to control the economy? Which way do you see it going?
I think just a little comment to what Mr. Amran said is that if it's true that Morsi is now saying that there will be no problems with SCAF, he's already going against what was promised a few days ago. Morsi was elected by 13 million votes. Probably around half of them were voting against Shafi. Their vote base is around 6 or maybe 7 million people. So Morsi is not the Muslim Brotherhood's president. He is dependent on the street. So I think that if it develops that they continue now to do as they've done before and pretty much stab the revolution in the back, then they will find that they have no, or he will find he has no support in the street. So I hope they keep what they promise. But when it comes to the economic issues, I think that there's no economic conflict between Morsi and SCAF. I think their conflict is a political one. They can coincide with the way things are in the economic issues.
All right, both Gil Mahili and Nader Amran, I would have liked to have had your reaction. Unfortunately, we're out of time for the debate, but I want to thank all of you for joining us. I want to thank Hannah Youssef as well. I want to thank as well Henri Boulad and, of course, Nader Amran for joining us from Cairo. Thank you for being with us here in the France 24 debate. Stay with us. Coming up next, it's time for business. Marcus Carlson will be with us.